Greetings everyone, welcome to The People Speak Out. I'm hosting this week as Sass and Helen. Sass is away, it would normally be her turn. Helen did it last time, so Sass will be in the seat on the next one, 1st of July. So as it's me, I felt it might be good to do a general election special as I'm standing as an independent candidate for Derbyshire Dales. I don't expect to win. The probability is minimal, negligible, that I will actually be elected, but I am actually doing it as a pattern interrupt, and I'll explain that in a second. I'm just going to mute everyone back, yeah. So now I've been putting out lots of video content, and it's interesting because I'm getting a lot of support, but then there are the occasional people who are saying, oh, you shouldn't be endorsing the system, you shouldn't be energising the system. So I do want to speak to that and cover that off. But before I do, and before I open the call to your opinions and your shares of what's happening in your world, let us just do a quick alignment, which, as we always do, just to fully land in the current space. And we do that with 3 long, deep breaths in through the nose and blowing out slowly over the bottom lip. Those breaths are a really good way of calming the nervous system. And as you're doing the deep breaths, consciously drop from mind into the body, into the heart, calming the mind, opening the heart, coming out of everything that happened this morning, coming out of everything that you're due to do this afternoon after the call, so we can all be fully present in the now moment where all the power is. So going back to the election, there's a couple of things actually, a couple of big things. Firstly, energising the system. So there has been talk on these calls of people saying, oh, we went out leafleting at the weekend and oh, we got 4,000 light papers or whatever, and that's all brilliant. I want to let you know that 48,700 leaflets will be landing on doormats in the Derbyshire Dales, in every home in the Derbyshire Dales region in the next couple of weeks in the run up to the election, which is my leaflet campaign, which is a pattern interrupt of the shit show. And there's 461 candidates standing up and down the UK. So you multiply all of that activity, and most of those candidates are totally awake and are speaking truth to power and are standing on behalf of the people. So scale that up. That is literally pretty much, I don't know, 80% of the households in the UK. And bear in mind, a lot of the reform candidates are also speaking out against World Economic Forum because they don't have a party whip, so they can do what they like, not like Conservatives and Labour who have to do a party authorised leaflet. If you don't have a whip, you can say whatever you like, and reform candidates, as I understand it, can. And a lot of them are freedom movement or sort of ex-UKIPers who are speaking out against World Economic Forum. So we're literally talking about every household in the UK having a pattern interrupt piece of literature going through their letterbox. And personally, I think that alone is massive. The second thing that I have been asked is, when you're elected, will you swear an oath to the monarch? And firstly, the probability of me being elected is minimal. If I'm asked to swear an oath, it will be to the people. But I just wanted to highlight, and this is very important if you understand about common law and the Constitution, even though much as we may loathe Charles Windsor and his allegiance to the World Economic Forum, nonetheless, the monarch is very important in common law because the monarch swears an oath to the people to protect the people. And likewise, all of the police and the armed forces, they don't work for the government, they work for the monarch, like the police have an oath to protect the people and their property. So actually the monarch in constitutionally plays a very important role to prevent out of control, tyrannical government, totalitarian governments from bulldozing things through. At least that is the theory. And we need a restoration of awareness of that. And I know that Roger's standing very much on a common law in his leaflet, in his election campaign, very much restoring, creating awareness of the common law rights of the people, as am I. So anyway, that's my little intro. If anyone would like to come on, please put your hand up and come on and share. I also just want to say before I open, in fact, I'll come to Roger first. If it would be nice to hear from you, Roger, because I know you've been going to hustings. I haven't done any hustings yet. I'm doing 6 in Derbyshire. But I just want to thank everyone who has supported my campaign. Karine, I really appreciated you sent a little donation. I literally am I am at the bottom of the barrel. I'm living on thin air at the moment. I'm really putting everything I've got into this, and it didn't actually make any logical sense for me sort of financially, but I just knew I had to do it, and I'm just like trusting in the universe. So thank you for everyone who's been supporting, and all I need to do really is just have enough resources to get through the next few weeks and to go travelling to the hustings. I want to do more wildcard interviews. I interviewed Piers Corbyn last week, which was great, and just to get the message out there, because according to the mainstream media, there's just red and blue. Those are your only choices. There's no acknowledgement whatsoever of independence or a possibility of independence, and I do believe that if we can create awareness that there is an option for the people, that's really important. So I'm going to come to Roger first, and then I'm going to come to Annie, who's got her hand up. Hey, Rog.
Yeah, I'm just struggling on with getting the mailing organised. It's quite a bureaucratic, stressful affair.
Oh, tell me about it. It's an absolute labyrinth of red tape, isn't it? How honestly, they couldn't make it more difficult. And of course, big big political parties have got huge teams that deal with this, and whereas independents like us who are doing it for the first time, it's oh my God, unbelievable. Sorry, I'm talking over you, but I'm just echoing.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, you're echoing my sentiments, and that's basically what I would say as well. And the strange thing is that over this last 2 or 3 weeks, my internet connection has gone so weak.
Yes.
It's affecting, my emails and everything. Now, is that coincidence? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, sound like a broken record, but if anybody can send me a few quid, I would appreciate it. My biggest problem really at the moment is travel expenses, taxes and things, because I don't have a car. And
yes.
So, getting to the hustings and other events is expensive for me. So if somebody can help me, I'd be obliged. I'll put my address again. I mean, if you go to the website, which is
vote-love.co.uk, you'll find Roger on the homepage, a link to his page where there's a bank details and how to donate, and also how to come and see you as well if you're in the area. So please support Rog. Send him a few quid. Send me a few quid. It's like passing around the begging bowl. I just wanted to say on that point, Roger, and I hate to dominate the call, but this is another massive bee in my bonnet to pick up on what you said. Suddenly, all my emails went silent about hustings, and then I went on the Lib Dem site to find out where all the hustings were, because I thought they're definitely going to be invited. He had a whole list, and there was a hustings at Bakewell Church, which is literally like 200 yards from where I live, happening on the 26th of June, and I hadn't been invited. And I was just like, oh my God, how dare they? How very dare they do a hustings in Bakewell? I'm the only candidate who actually lives in Bakewell to actually not invite me, and I had no email or anything. And I was having a good old rant about it on Saturday morning when suddenly there's a knock at the door and a guy saying, I've been trying to email you, everything's been bouncing back. I'm inviting you to the hustings at Bakewell Church on the 26th of June, and here's a piece of paper. And so, and I'm like, were you sending it to Rachel at rachelelnor.com? He said, yeah, but I can't get through to you, so I've had to come round in person. So I think you're right, Rog. I think there is a big potential that there may be forces which are throwing a spanner in our works. So I'm distracted by Annie, but yeah, if I'll come to Annie next. Are you complete, Rog?
Yeah, there's nothing more to say. I said everything I need to say.
Okay, well, I'll put your link in the notes below the video to the Love Party and to your campaign and to mine. So if anyone wants to chip in, then please do. All donations welcome, all support welcome. So lots of love, Rog, and over to Annie. Hi, Annie. Just looking at your message.
Hi everyone. Well done, Rachel, for what you're doing. Absolutely brilliant work, and you, Roger. I'm getting a really good feeling that quite a few of these independents are really making waves in certain places. I was listening to Sonia Poulton this morning, and she was interviewing a guy from York, who's really, really doing very well. We will be surprised. There's a couple of things I wanted to mention about the election. I'm in Canterbury, and our MP is Rosie Duffield, who's Labour, and she's not allowed to go to the hustings because of her views on trans people. She's been blocked by the Labour Party from going to hustings. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What are her views on trans people?
Her view is that a man can't be a woman.
Yes.
It's biologically not a woman. That's all.
Right.
And that you should have the right to say that. You know, she's not against trans people, but they can't be women. So
yes,
she's a bit like J.K. Rowling in that respect. So it's just interesting how the democracy is going, and it was quite interesting. I live in a small village, and I was contacted by somebody I know, and she's been very. Her husband was knighted for services to the Conservative Party years ago, and they're very blue Tory supporters. She rang me and she said, do you know so-and-so in the village, and named this woman, and I said, no, I don't know her. She's in hospital. And I said, oh, okay. She can't deliver the leaflets for the Conservative Party to the village. And I said, okay. And she said, so I was wondering, would you do it? And I said, no. It took me off guard. And I said, I am politically homeless. I really am, and I'm not supporting the Conservatives or anybody. And she said, well, that's put us in a very difficult situation. She said, I understand you're politically homeless. She sort of mocked me. She said, you know, you've lived here for a long time. Will you do it? Could you just do it? It would just, you know, I can't. And I said, no. It just kept going. In her mind, she just couldn't do that.
I mean, Royal Mail deliver. Royal Mail actually deliver them. So are they doing a second delivery round?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. We haven't got an independent where I vote, and we've carried on with the yellow boards, which is going from strength to strength. And I'm just giving you another update. We were up in a place called Herne Bay, which is up near Whitstable, this week, and it's a different kind of situation. Less motorists because the high street's very narrow, but more people walking past. and they all took copies of the light and stopped to talk. And it's incredible the reaction you're getting from ordinary people. And you go into places, I've been hearing that there's copies of the light in barber shops, in hairdressers, in tip shops, they're anywhere that people gather and sort of spend time. They're flying out there. Everyone's familiar with it. So that's a good thing. And I'm just going to just update where I am, and I am vacillating between total despair and elation. I don't know which side. I'm so, every day is different. Sometimes I think we're going to go to war, we're all going to starve, they're going to win, and we're all going to die. And other times I think we've got this, and there really will be change. And I'm just going up and down. And I think a lot of people are. Certainly a lot of people seem to be feeling that something's coming.
Yes.
A sort of unsettling, a feeling of being unsettled and anxious about the future. And whenever somebody makes something, like they say, oh, I'm giving a speech, giving a talk in October, I think, I can't think that far ahead. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
We don't know where we'll be, what the situation will be. You know, it seems like a few months down the line just seems an impossible. You know, we'll see how it goes. But it's been like that for about a year. But that's all I've got to say today. So that's my little update from my corner of Kent.
Thanks, Annie. And I totally get that. It's almost like a sort of schizophrenic thing, isn't it? And it's funny because I had a similar conversation with Cliff this morning, because he was talking to me about like hustings, and because I've got all these hustings coming up. But he was saying the same thing, that he felt like there would be a massive event. It's like it's a tinderbox, and there's going to be a trigger event where everything is going to kind of go into insanity, crazy, chaotic insanity. But I was saying I don't think it has to be that way, because yes, the false matrix is gripping on and they're not going to let go lightly, but equally there is a massive awakening of consciousness, and it could well be that there's a quantum leap in evolution. The veil is lifted and everyone just suddenly gets it, and it's just like, oh my God, and the old just falls away in a sort of metamorphic moment. So that's what I'm holding on to, because
and also there's a lot of fear porn out there, isn't there?
Yes,
you know, with talking about things like in other countries, all Germany's getting ration documents together, and they're conscripting people, and
in America they've just opened conscription to 18 to 26-year-olds, which is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I do feel that. Did you see the cow video, the police ramming the cow video? I mean, that was shocking, but there was something about that felt like really symbolic. Like this is out of control and has gone too far now. Just the idea that the police feel that they have the power to do that on our streets. I was just like, absolutely shocking. And the fact that that's been on the front page of all the newspapers, it's a sort of left field event, because obviously cows are very sacred, aren't they? For Hindus, and there's something very sacred about a cow. There's something very archetypal about that. It was sacrilege, you know. So there's strange omens afoot, is kind of what I'm saying. Yeah. In answer to your question, yes, we will be at Crestbrookdale on Saturday. We're usually there from about 11 a.m. till about 2:33. Depends on the weather. That we had to curtail last week because of torrential rain. But we're taking out all the barbed wire out of the land. There's miles of it. So we'll be there on Saturday afternoon, around and about. And stand in the park on Sunday from 10 to 11:30. So yeah,
I'll see you then.
You.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Annie.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so let's just come back to the gallery view, and please do come on and share. I can see there's not a huge amount of hands up, but please tell us, are you going to vote, or have you had enough? Have you had enough of politicians? Are you going to vote independent? Or are you going to spoil your ballot paper? Or are you going to just ignore the whole thing? Karine, hi.
Hi. So first of all, yeah, well done you, and also Roger, and I think that's very courageous, and I really honour you.
Thank you, and thank you for your generous gift.
Well, it's all I can afford. We've got building going on. It's just like mad here. I thought, like, I've got to give you something.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're in a situation in Frome with there are two independents, but as yet I don't know who they are and what they stand for. So I've got to go and do some. I haven't really been in election mode, and there are four potentials in Frome in terms of, you know, Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, and the Greens are very strong. Now, I was just going to spoil my ballot paper. I'm going to check on who the independents are, but I happen to know that the Green person standing, man, in fact, I don't mind saying the word man, he's a Green man, and you know, he's done a lot of good things for Frome, and I sort of feel that there would be a chance to talk to him and get him to step up. He's approachable. Now, this Frome this time is a new constituency. We're being split from an old constituency. So it's all brand new territory in a way in terms of the area covered. So we're in a bit, you know, it's really difficult because obviously I feel very strongly about the shit show that's been going on, and I want to hold whoever is an MP for us to account. I'm just burbling, really. I just thought I put my hand up and put that question, that puzzlement into the mix, because it's very difficult if there's somebody who potentially could get in, who is also approachable and who has a good track record, even though we know the Greens are all in cahoots with everyone else. They've got to be better. Well, in terms of candidates that we know, they're definitely better than the others. But then I don't know who the independents are yet. And there are hardly any tickets left for hustings, so we don't quite know what we can challenge and talk about.
Oh, you have to get tickets for hustings, do you? Because
you do in Frome. There's a huge venue called the Cheese and Grain, a big music venue. Right. And apparently you have to get tickets. You can't just rock up, apparently, which is normally you could. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing about tactical voting, there's a lot spoken about tactical voting, and I do also think that that's another kind of banana skin deliberately thrown into the mix to try to dissuade people from, you know, voting for who they want. Oh, like, I've got to be tactical. Like independents have got no chance, and therefore I need to blah 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 blah. I do think that is an urban myth, because if you look at the disillusionment in politics, and if all the disillusioned people voted for a representative of the people, independents could win in every constituency, in truth. Yeah, and also Green obviously is completely in Agenda 2030, and it's like
so
they
we
might
also
think they're saving the planet, but they're just playing into World Economic Forum bullshit. And we, as we know, it's nothing to do with saving the planet. It's just driving new markets. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought I'd just flag that in, really. I mean, you know, I might still just spoil my ballot paper, or I don't know. I'll see I've got to check out who the independents are, because we've got a whole big 5G thing. If anybody's in the Bath area, 7th of July, there is a rally because Bath want to roll out an 18-month trial of tons of 5G masts in the centre of Bath.
Wow.
That all the tourists can be on their smartphones all day long in the centre of Bath. So there is a rally, and of course Frome is only very close to Bath, and Frome, you know, has now given up its precautionary principle on the 5G masts. So even though they're independent, complete independent town council, they're still very much now under the wing of Somerset County, who want 5G everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the 7th of July in Bath. I can
Okay.
write
Cool.
something in there on the link.
Cool. Thanks,
Okay.
Doreen.
That's me.
Thanks, lots of love.
Put my glasses on.
I'll mute you back. It's okay. I'll do it. Okay, so let's come to Janet next, and then I'll come back to Roger. And if anyone else wants to come on, please do put your hand up. So, hey, Janet, can you unmute?
Hi, yes, I've just unmuted. Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Thanks a lot. Hi, I've been listening to obviously everybody speaking, and the what's come across to me is that I am on occasions, but mostly managed to find a way around it. I've been in a right tiswas about what to do about this election. I'm 70, and I've been politically interested in government, our constitution, and all sorts since being 14 when I did my O level in British Constitution and politics. And I've just been so topsy-turvy, overturned this last, I suppose, the last 3 years or 4 years since the COVID debacle, because it's been obvious to me there's been so much twisting and horrible lies and deceit and corruption going on across government and across lots of departments. Obviously not every individual, but a lot, especially if they are in Conservative and Labour, because of the whip. And I just want to employ people to go inside of themselves and sit very quietly with themselves regularly. If it has to be throughout the day, if you have to put a timer on, I don't care. I actually have an hourly ritual where I make sure I sit down for 5 minutes just to check in with my true spiritual being, rather than all that I'm hearing and is buzzing in my mind. I've come off social media. I've had to do certain self-care practices to protect myself, because I know, I love when you use the words, it's a shit show. It truly is. And I've been listening to some videos of a guy called Charlie Ward, which some people may have heard of, some people may detest, whoever, but he calls this situation a pantomime. And it's really helped me to understand we're not seeing a true reality. The truth, what we're seeing is a construct of collapse of the world. And I have a strong belief system, so I have to draw on that very regularly. But I think we've all got a knowledge of our intuition and of our real self. And I think you just have to sit and let your real self talk to you and be at peace. You need very much, we all need to work from peace, not fear, because we've got to raise this vibration. There is chaos around us. Like you say, everybody you speak to is worried. It's just like, I feel the best job I can do is to meditate and in groups and work on the frequency of harmony and peace. And I actually don't think, I'm a very practical person. I've burnt myself out in the past doing good works for all sorts of organisations. And now I've realised that my job is to help bring peace. And I felt sorry for one or two of the ladies who were speaking about not knowing what to do and this, that, and the other, because, well, I've been there, but I feel fortunate now. I know what my purpose at this time is.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we're looking at a large plot of land that we don't really want the acreage, but it's got a tiny permission to build a tiny house on it. And it's really, really funny, because I'm going to set up a trust, and it's actually going to be an ancient Celtic word called smeltness, and that actually means peace and harmony. And if you look at, and that's going to be maybe the name of the trust if we do go ahead with this. But the whole feeling of, is this right, is this wrong, came when I realised I've always loved sitting with people who die. And I know it sounds crazy, but I trained donkeys years ago with Care the Dying, and I just think it's an honourable, beautiful thing to love somebody through that transition. And probably going to turn at least 15 to 20 acres into a natural burial site
Oh, wow.
to take it out of the system, because you
Yes.
don't have to be buried in the system and people don't know. And so I started researching. So I think this is another thing. It's to do with harmony and peace and just doing the work you can, when you can, where you can, really. I won't
Yeah.
talk anymore, but I just wanted to encourage people to find peace within, in whatever way that comes to them, and trust their gut. Trust
Yeah.
your gut.
Beautiful.
Okay. And
Yeah.
lots of love to you. And I'll see you, Roger, later this week, I hope.
Thanks,
Bye.
Janet. Yeah,
Bye.
so conscious birthing, conscious dying, and being a death doula, isn't it? I think that's what it's called.
It's similar. Yes, I've heard some of that wording used. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. And yes, I love the idea of like woodland burials, natural burials. That's what Dee Sunshine had, a natural burial at Findhorn. It was really beautiful and a celebration of life. It was exquisite.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a great, I just feel it's something that's honouring to the land and honouring to people, and will
Yeah,
bring the cost for people right down,
absolutely, absolutely.
because it's a big worry to people, the cost of funerals.
Yeah, very true.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Janet. Yeah, I have to say there is one thing when I'm walking around the co-op here. Obviously, Bakewell's got quite an elderly population, and there's this constant advert of like, "Have you thought about your funeral?" It's like, oh my god. Okay, I'm actually, Rog, I'm going to just come to people who haven't spoken first, and then we'll come back to you, maybe to give you the last word. So I'm going to come to my PC, and sorry, I forget your name.
It's Eileen.
Eileen. Hi,
I
Eileen.
haven't fixed it yet.
No, it's fine. I know you've been on before. Hi, Eileen. Come on, Eileen.
Well, so politics has always been a hobby of mine, and I'm intrigued by the fact that I watch a lot of the television. They go in between Labour and the Conservative, and then they would introduce the others. And they'd even introduce, of course, reform, but no mention at all of the Workers' Party of Britain.
I noticed that, completely
Absolutely.
silenced.
But I think, I'm not sure, I've got a feeling I've got one standing where I am, but there's not an independent. I'll have to update it all because there may now be an independent. But I just feel that, I'll probably vote for the Workers' Party of Britain because I'm treating it as rather a referendum. They didn't consult us on Ukraine. Everything that's happening in Gaza, that they're supporting Israel, there's no real debate in Parliament. But I'm using it rather like somebody asking me my opinion. And I know that is their main, it's George Galloway. And when I saw him, when he was elected in Parliament, it was just marvellous. It was just wonderful. And he is, so disruptive, isn't he? And so I just feel that I'm going to use it if the opportunity is, if there is a Workers' Party, and that to say this is what I feel about what you've been doing for the last, we'll say 4 years as well. But obviously George Galloway wasn't involved with that. But that's what I'm going to do.
Interesting. Yeah, I know that certainly there's one independent who's standing on that sole single issue in a very Muslim area, and she's obviously a Muslim, and just on that one issue, standing as an independent.
Yeah, so, I am in the Muslim area.
Okay.
So, if there is one, I should think that just to show people how I feel.
Yeah.
How dare you do all this without consulting me?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the thing. This is the key thing, is that these parties, political parties, are completely out of control. You give them power and they will literally, for the next 5 years, like the Conservatives did, the cons, I call them, back in 2019, as soon as they got power, a big majority, boom, off they ran with it, and they didn't give a shit about the people. The MPs, like my MP, Sarah Dines here, Con Party, just got standard responses with the Cabinet Office, paste replies.
Yes.
Absolutely no interest in addressing the issues of the people. She was on a cease and desist notice over COVID, lockdown, jabs, the whole lot, and she's culpable. you know, and yet won't go to any of the debates, the Andrew Bridge and stuff. I mean, it's absolutely scandalously shocking, you know, where we've got to. Cool. Thanks, Eileen. Let's come next to Kemi.
Oops.
Hello there.
Hi.
Thank you for asking to speak to me. I am going to vote this election, and I'm going to vote for the Reform Party, I think. However, I don't know if my Reform person is independent, and I really do want to vote for an independent one. He
Yeah.
might be, but I don't know. So I have to figure that out. And then I'm thinking about, you know, like you're talking about marking your ballot up so that it's
Spoiling
just
your
like
ballot.
spoiling it. Are you going to do that? Did you say, or it's possible
Well,
you could? I suppose you
I
can't.
did for East Midlands, but for this
Right.
one, I will vote for myself.
Yes, of
I'd like
course.
to get at least one vote.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. That's really good. And also, you know, I feel, I don't know, I voted for Conservative last time, and I thought I was so disgusted with myself. I remember putting the postal ballot in the box, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is the worst mistake I've ever made. And I just put it in, and I just thought, oh, I've really, really blown that one. And in the end, I didn't know that there's ever going to be a big enough move, but I think this time there will be a big enough move where our thinking or ballots are going to count for something. I don't know if they'll count for winning it, but I hope that they'll count for, they'll see it. They'll see something is going on, and they'll see that people are really going in another direction. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. So just to say about reform,
Right.
because I have been to a reform meeting,
Okay.
and when I went to the reform meeting before Farage
Yes.
took over,
Mm-hmm.
and it really was almost like an umbrella. The way that they created reform, Richard Tice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is that they basically said, we've got no whip, we'll just be an umbrella, and we'll give you financing. So there was a strong carrot for all of these disgruntled ex-UKIPers, anti-WEFers,
Yeah.
who would have stood as independents. They gave them a big carrot, like, come under the umbrella, you're going to be looked after, it's going to be so much better for you. And they hoovered them up.
Boom.
And then, boom, then they parachuted Nigel Farage in. And at the time, there was a big anti-Richard Tice, Nigel Farage sentiment in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
However, they justified it in their mind that we're better to be under this umbrella, we're more powerful together, and we don't like Tice, we don't like Farage, but there's no whip, and that we're getting funding. Now, of course, we know that Farage was bankrolled by Aaron Banks to do the whole Brexit thing. Now, he's an insurance entrepreneur, completely bankrolled Farage. So there's big money behind reform. And I know that they financed, because I was asking Alan Graves, how did he get, because the East Midlands mayor, that was 10 grand, 5 grand to stand and 5 grand to go in the booklet. And it's like, reform paid it. So there's big money behind reform. Make no mistake, they've got big corporate donors. And to me, follow the money.
Yeah.
And if you've got big corporate donors, then the chances are there is corruption there. So unfortunately, for that reason, I'm out. No,
Right.
I don't say that.
That's good. No. One of the Dragon's Den people always says that. You know, oh, I'm out. Listen,
Well, I was a dragon. That's why I was.
I know you.
myself.
I know you were. So there you go.
Yeah. So I'm deeply suspicious of reform, and of course, what's happened is that they've split the con vote. So essentially, they're like 17-18% each.
Yeah.
And I forget how much Labour is on now, but essentially, by splitting the vote, the con vote to reform, like we've got con and reform,
Right.
the chances are it will help Labour to sail to victory. Now, of course, we know World Economic Forum, big corporate, All they want is a baton handover.
Yes.
They know the
Yes.
cons are exhausted, and they want Keir Starmer to afresh to hand over the baton, because they're going to go to the next thing. It's going to be bird flu. It's going to be
Yes.
World War III. We need to
Yeah.
keep everyone safe. We've got to take a tough stance. Keir Starmer is like Crown Persecution Service personified, isn't he? He's totalitarian even within his own party. So, goodness gracious me, with Keir Starmer at the helm of this country, it's going to make what happened in COVID under Boris Johnson look like a walk in the park. That's
Yeah.
what I will say. We have to be very aware that if the power is handed to Keir Starmer, he's completely aligned to Davos, we will be fucked.
Yes. Now, let me ask you this then. When we're not going to, perhaps, I have to relook at reform now. However,
Yeah.
when I do, what do you think? Is it just, I'm trying to find it independent. And I tell you, it's a little bit like you were saying right at the very beginning, that my internet's down, or, you know, what things that I thought I was receiving by
Yeah.
email aren't there. All my orders that I've done are just not coming. You know, I mean, it's really been for me, a personal shit show. But on the other hand, for this election, I really do want to vote. And I'm thinking about, how do I vote? Can I say an independent, or just find an
there is a
independent in my-
website called Who Can
Okay.
I Vote For? There's a website called Who Can I Vote For? So you can look on there and you can find the people. You should
Right.
be getting leaflets from everyone. We all get a free mailing,
Okay.
provided people can rustle up the money to print it, because you have to pay for the printing costs.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I've covered my deposit and all printing costs, which is great.
Right.
But of course, there might be the Royal Mail spanner in the works, because you only have a tiniest window of opportunity
Yes.
to do this, and the
Yes.
rules and regulations are hideous. So I'm not holding my breath for my leaflets to hit doormats, but they should do legally, lawfully.
Okay.
So you might well get a leaflet from each of your independents through, because not all independents are part of the freedom movement. A lot of them are completely bought into the, you know.
Well, this is my problem. I really don't want to be voting for
Yes.
those. So I'm going to start to
You can
look
check it
at,
out.
what
Who
I
can I
can
vote
do.
for? Yeah.
Who can I vote for, and actually sort of figure it out. But I'll definitely give some money to you, and I'll give some money to Roger. Sort of,
Oh,
you know,
thank you. That's
just a
sweet.
bit, just a wee bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, at least something.
Honestly, tiny little amounts just to make all the difference. Just
They do.
enough, you know, 20 quid to put petrol in the car so you can actually get
Exactly.
from A to B or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. I mean, I'm literally just, it's teaching me to have such huge gratitude. I've never been more grateful for like a £20 note in my life, I don't think.
Right.
Just to be able to
Fantastic.
go and buy some food or something. And just that trusting in faith, in having faith and trusting in flow, and just keep handing it over to Jesus. That's what I'm doing.
Yep.
Just handing it over.
Yep. The Lord. Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, you know, and just trusting, and then boom, like something pings in and pops in, and you
Great.
know.
Okay. Well,
So-
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kemi. And let's come to Patrick next. Hey, Patrick. Do you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Hi. Hey.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of inspired to put in a little bit about elections, because I live in Ireland and I don't have an awful lot of good things to say about this country. But one thing, I think their elections are quite a bit better than what you call your first past the post system. You know how you have this second preference, third preference, all the way down to
Yeah.
however many preferences you like. Like, to take an example of the Reform Party versus, let's say, okay, I'm going to explain this well, but if you don't want to use your vote to help the other side, like if you vote for Reform, in effect, you're voting for Labour because you're taking a vote away from the Conservatives.
Yeah,
That type
true.
of thing. So you could make Reform, in this case, your first preference, and then, let's say, Conservatives your second preference. And I'm not promoting any of these parties. I'm just saying that's how it would work. So let's say Reform gets, I don't know, 15% of the vote. Then they get so-called eliminated, and their second preference, which would be the Conservative, then becomes, your vote becomes a vote for the Conservative. So it's a way where you can vote for the people you really believe in, but at the same time, you can, your vote counts to the main thing.
Okay.
It's quite clever. I don't know who came up with it, and I don't know if they have it in other countries very much.
You mean you're in Central Ireland, like you're in, you're not in Northern Ireland, you're in
No, I'm in
Ireland.
the Republic, yeah. I'm in
Yes.
Southern Ireland, yeah.
Okay, so they've got more like a proportional representation.
Well,
thing
yeah,
there, have
that's
they?
another word for it. But I think the way it's done is quite good. And I lived in America, and I know at the time when Bush and Gore were fighting it out in Florida, for example, and a lot of people wanted to vote for Ralph Nader at that time. But if you voted for Ralph Nader, in effect, you would be voting for Bush because you'd be taking a vote away from Gore. This
Yeah.
kind of problem.
Well, this
And
is the
people have
thing,
that
tactical
problem all the
voting.
time. Huh?
This is the thing, this issue of tactical voting. It
Yeah,
depends
it
on
puts
a
into that thing.
belief.
But
It depends on a
Right.
belief that, like, for example, independents have got no hope, so it's a wasted vote. But
Exactly,
But that's how it's like a psyop, because imagine if everyone who was disillusioned with politics and politicians voted for a
Right.
candidate who is independent of big. Imagine if that happened. Independents
Mm.
could win in every seat in this that they're standing, 461, probably less seats than that.
right.
But independents could potentially be the majority party, and then we would overturn politics overnight. So this is
Yeah.
the psyop.
Mind you, right, but mind you, I mean, we have the system here, and it still doesn't seem to make any great difference. If you know what I mean, it's like it could seem, oh, this would solve all the problems in
Yeah.
voting, but in fact, it sort of doesn't.
Well, because the mainstream media is so completely stitched up. I mean, it's been shocking
Yeah.
to witness what the bits I've witnessed on, like, just looking at newspaper headlines and listening to Radio 4. It's like independents aren't even on the radar,
Right. But like there was one politician here, he was just he was a bricklayer, but anyway, interesting about, and he made immigration his big thing. He was an anti all of this forced immigration, and the media ignore him and say he's an idiot and all that. But he ended up getting like 40,000 votes, and I think a lot of it was due to the fact that people felt they could vote for him. And in my own case, I did. But let's say I know he's not going to win, and he didn't win. But you still somehow register the fact that many people support him. So it makes the system a little more open to new people coming along, or independence, or whatever you want to call it. So I think
Yeah.
it's good in the overall. Again, this doesn't, no consolation to you guys, because you have the so-called first past the post system. That's what you have, and they're not going to change that either, of course.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. And of course, like, for example, in this area where it's quite possible that Labour will win for the reasons you said, if you actually counted up all the people who didn't want Labour, it would way eclipse the number of the votes of the one who actually gets in. All the people who didn't want them.
It gives weight to these independents, no matter how marginal. It gives them a certain sort of weight and influence. That's what I like about it. It's a very nice system, actually, I think they have something similar in the European countries, but I don't know much about it. But they have all kinds of different systems. But the Irish have really carried this second, third preference thing to a fine art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. So I'm going to mute you back there. And let's just go back to the widescreen, the gallery. So we've got 11 minutes left if anyone would like to come on and share. Conrad, would you like to come on and speak? I know Conrad's part of the Love Movement.
Well, that is most kind of you to invite me. I was just thinking about the good woman who spoke about stopping every hour to bring herself back into the moment. And also hearing many people who are suffering with worry and anxiety. And I was thinking that instead of using your energy to worry and have anxiety, we all have this incredible ability to create. why not turn your mind into creating the world that you want? Because I'll tell you what, this world that we create can be absolutely magnificent. I am very, very fortunate. I have a hectare of woodland, and I live in a small cabin that I've built out of recycled materials in the middle of my woodland. And I'm living what I imagined how I would live many years ago. So I have created from my imagination. And I suggest we all do this, whether it's politics or whatever it happens to be. Let's create in our minds, because just that energy is going to get the ball rolling. That's what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Conrad. So that's very much what Neville Goddard, that's a big theme of Neville Goddard. Have you listened to his, several decades ago, he was I think in the 1950s and 60s, wasn't he? Neville Goddard's talks, a bit like Alan Watts. But he talks a lot about the imagination and the power of the mind, and imagining, feeling yourself in the vibration. And he said it was essentially the teachings of Christ, is that we have the ability to vision into being through the imagination. The I, Magi nation, like I am a magician who can birth things. The I, Magi nation, Nate is to birth, yeah. So that's interesting that you are there, Conrad. And I have to say, I am constantly visioning myself living at Crestbrook Dale. Probably shouldn't say that, because probably got some activists listening in who are getting their pitchforks at the ready at that comment. But this is just to talk about that. There's a big issue of affordable housing. It's coming up all the time, everywhere. Affordable housing, people can't afford rents, they can't afford to buy houses, the young people, it's insane. It could all be completely transformed and swept away just by doing exactly what you're doing, getting an acre of woods and a whole little group of people just building cabins, sharing resources, growing their own food, and looking after one another. And that's it. It could be that simple, building your little hut out of recycled materials. And people are doing it, and they're being kind of like hauled out by councils and dragged off by, police, and for essentially, it's illegal. But the truth is, it's absolutely within our common law rights to live and work land we own, provided we're causing no harm, injury, or loss. It's, and it's one of the great lost rights. And just that simple thing of reclaiming that right to just live and work land you own, just peacefully existing, not causing anyone any harm, just that one thing could absolutely transform this country overnight, So, not sure if you wanted to come back on that, Conrad, but...
Oh, my screen went suddenly blank for a moment. So, dear old, what is it called? Brigade 77. I'm sure they're listening
Brigade.
in. And 77th Brigade, yes. They're probably having a wonderful time thinking, gosh, who is this chap? They'll probably come and fetch me too. When it comes to the councils and things, of course, I don't fight the councils. I am here to educate the councils, and they have told me, of course, I'm not allowed to do what I am doing. But I also believe they do not have any authority over us. Remember, they are a government branch, and in fact,
Oh,
no.
you've frozen, Conrad. Say that again. In fact, government. You were going to say, in fact, government.
Government is by the people, for the people.
Yes.
And we all know this. Therefore, we will stop being concerned by the fact that we think they have authority.
You've frozen again, Conrad. Can I just ask, have you got a letterbox there? How are they serving you? Are they trespassing on your land to come and try and Do they come and knock on your door? How do they communicate with you? Is what I'm interested in.
A variety of ways. I have had letters pinned to my gate, so they're pinned up gate, because it's and yes, I land and I told things, and they up this little plastic card and oh, right, the legend, blah 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 blah, and the law, and that I'm actually living by the law, which, and people.
You're breaking up a lot, Conrad, but I'm getting the gist of it. You're getting plastic laminated notices hung on your gate. You're getting notices stuck on your gate. We had the same at Crestbrookdale, like 100 A4 laminated notices, which we returned as litter, environmentally unfriendly litter, and notices gaffer taped to our caravan, and just total violation of our rights. So Conrad, yes, Conrad, we kind of you froze there. I guess your internet connection's not
I'm
brilliant
coming
in the
and
forest.
going, as I say. Oh yeah, and well, actually, usually it's really good, but as I say, 77th Brigade are having fun. Thank you for your reply, by the way, Rachel.
Oh, to your email, yes, I finally caught up with that. Cool. Okay, thanks, Conrad. Appreciate you coming on, and I'm going to. It's nearly 1 o'clock, so as there's no other hands up, I'm going to bring it to a close there. Just to thank everyone for coming on, and just to encourage everyone, do check out who your local independent is, and even just by voting independent, you will help us to at least recover our deposit, because we have to pay £500 deposit, and we only get it back if we get 5% of the votes. So just bear that in mind. If you vote for your independent candidate, you're actually helping them to keep their £500 and not let it go into the hands of the essentially the returning officer in the local council or the consolidated central fund, or wherever it gets hoovered up into. So yeah, sending you lots of love. Have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you again on Monday, the 1st of July, when Sass will be in the hosting seat. So lots of love, and bye for now.